All righty then. Hello, everybody. All right, let's see. Here we are. Very good. All right, let's check volume. Everything seems very good. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I wish you to have a very good starting of the week, and we are starting with one stream per day for this week. Sadly, we couldn't complete the full, prior week, but this week, I think that we actually going to make it. All right. And I just want to acknowledge that my internet failed on my last stream. That's a thing that almost never happened. I don't know. There might have been some sort of like work services or something around because like internet is not that bad. Electricity though, you know sometimes have some failures, but not that much with the internet. Internet seems to be like really nice here. So all right. So let's actually review what we're going to be doing today. And, we should start with the notices for this week. So today I'm having my, solitary type of life, right? And let me just do this just a bit. All right, that seems like fine. Not at all. A bit there. Come on, there it is. Very good. And that is going to be today, right? We're going to be talking about Unreal and stuff, right? And tomorrow, we are back with Franco. So we're going to be having Franco, I don't know, I think, because later in the week, we are going to be on Thursday. We're going to be conversing with JC Shigal on his actual channel where we're going to be discussing animation. And we're going to have like what was that? That was pretty wild. Like, what is happening here? That was wild. All right. So, camera acting on me. All right. It seems to be good. All right. So, we're going to be conversing with Jesse, and we're going to have a fun time. We're going to be conversing mostly about animation. We're going to be talking about, how different the Unreal Engine animation workflow is and how different it is. As we were actually discussing last time, we were talking with someone who was actually talking with us. And he was saying that the first time that he tried Unreal Engine, he actually loaded up some scene that he had in Houdini, and the thing was simply not working. Like, it was looking ugly, and it was not performant. And so he actually left it as it is. And I told him that that was normal. Like, Unreal Engine is, even though it looks very similar, right? You have meshes, you have materials, you have textures, you have scenes. That's where everything, completely changes because the way that you work for a game engine is completely different than what you would do for any other offline type of render DCC, right? And it works the same way with animations. So animations are really different, and it's mostly in the same sense as how Unreal Engine wants to assetify everything. It wants everything to be an asset, so it can then be reused as many times as you want as an actor inside your scenes. But it really loves to have like the less amount of assets as you can, right? Well, that is changing, so and we can actually talk a little bit about that. Let me actually fire off Unreal Engine. I want to jump early into the engine today. So we can actually start talking about Unreal Engine stuff. All right, give it a moment until There it is. Let me go to my library and open up any. Any will do. All right. So, as I was saying, the assetification, right? Let me actually take a look here. Let me go to my channel. All right, wait a second. There we go. Because I want to make sure that, all right, that's me. All right. So I want to make sure that I get someone, actually talking to me. All right. That's it. So here we go. All right. So, all right. Very soon it's going to be open. So what I was saying about Unreal Engine trying to make like an asset of everything is like really true. Now it's not, like it's a little bit different nowadays. Like with everything new about Unreal Engine 5, you're gonna realize very soon that, oh my God, here we go. That with, for example, Nanite is one of those things that doesn't actually require you to be very assetified, right? So let's talk about assetification. So if you check out any kind of, I think I have the Cyberpunk restaurant. What is this? Cyberpunk restaurant? Let's actually open this up. I don't know what. Oh, I know what this is. This is the. Oh, this is really good. So let's actually open it up. Let's go. Let's go levels and let's go with the demonstration. This is the Nova Burgers, and this is from Leardist, I believe, and they had like free contents. This is not from the VAD marketplace. This was downloaded from their own site, and we're actually using it here. So let's go. Very soon it should open. Give me just a second and it will open. All right, there we go. This is a very cool map, so you know. And this is how it looks. What I really hate is the actual lens flare. Maybe it's too aggressive, but maybe it's because like normally I teach ICVFX, and that's a thing that is not common at all. It, in fact, is something that you should actually avoid. Like everything lens-wise, you want it to happen on the real lens, right? You don't want it to be happening on a fake Unreal Engine, camera or a digital Unreal Engine camera, because then it's going to be impossible to actually replicate the same way in the actual camera, right? So that's the kind of effect that you really need to don't use. So let's actually turn it off. So let's go pause processing effect, pause processing volume. Let's search for lens flare. And here we go. Flare. Oh, here we go. Intensity 0. That's it. Very good. So let's actually talk about this one. So this is a very cool map. And let's see how it was made, right? So let me actually save this demonstration map. I don't care. I just turn off the lens flare, which is awful. And let's go to the actual meshes, for example, right? And you can see that everything that is in this very, seamless, complex map, it's here. So it's not that lengthy. The amount of assets that is required to create one of these complex levels is not that, high, right? You can see that with just a couple of assets, you can actually, create a very, very incredible and realistic, map. This is not as photorealistic, although the textures are really, really good. You can see that the meshes might need a little bit more density, but for the most part, it's a really cool looking map. So this is what Unreal Engine wants. Unreal Engine doesn't want you to actually bring like a full model for the whole architecture, right? It doesn't want you to actually grab like a cube and make a hole in it and then call it a building. That is the thing that Unreal Engine is not going to be fond of. And Lumen, it's going to hate it for sure, right? So I believe that you could, in terms of doing it, you can actually do that. Because let's actually talk about Nanite, right? So that way of actually constructing with everything very modular. So if I actually select anything inside here, you're going to see that that's going to be simply a small wall, right? And it's a very modular wall because if you actually go to this side, you're going to find another one here, right? You're going to find like a column and then another wall that happens to have a window. And then you have another one that doesn't have a window. And then you can go on and repeat, right? Another huge wall, another wall that happens to have a window and a door, and then, another column, then another big window, and yeah, so on and on. And that is how you create like a building, right? That is, the easiest way. In terms of blocking it out, you might want to actually, actually grab a cube and hollow it out, and then, the actual overall shape of the building, and that's going to be fine. But at some point, you want to actually start creating these modules, right? Now, let's talk about why you would do that on a prior epoch of using Nanite. And the first answer is going to be LODs. You want everything to have LODs in Unreal Engine. So that is a kind of technology that any other DCC will actually give an arm and an eye to actually have it. At least in a very automatic way, as Unreal Engine already have it. Let me drink a bit of coffee. There we go. So the thing is that for everything that you want to set up and build with inside an Unreal Engine scene, you will love to have LODs for everything. All right, let's actually measure out the actual impact of it. I know that maybe everything here is not Nanite. Let me just check. Yeah, Nanite enable is false for one of those. So I mean that I think that everything here is not Nanite. Let's go to Nanite visualization. Let's go to overview. Everything is black. So that means that nothing in this particular scene was converted to Nanite. So this is like a prior Nanite kind of situation scene, right? Let's go back to lead. And now let's actually measure this out. So right now you can see up here, maybe if it's not that noticeable, I'm gonna type Control-Shift-H, and now I can actually see it very big here. I'm running 60 FPS, let's call it, right? Around here, which is not bad, right? For an actual very detailed kind of scene here is like really, really good to actually have like a solid 60 FPS running on this scene. Now, what would happen if I actually run a command? There are commands for everything inside Unreal Engine, so you know. They are fun to actually play with. So because they actually write on their own, you need to simply call it like LOD force, right? And there it is. You have an actual r.force LOD. And if you actually just type enter, Unreal Engine in the output log is going to give you like a description of it, right? So it doesn't say much. I think if you actually do like a question mark, it will give you a little bit more information. So it says LOD to force -1 means that the actual forcing of the LOD is going to be off. So LODs are like this. The original model that you bring into the engine is going to be LOD 0. And then inside Unreal Engine, you can actually create those LODs. There is a way of actually, we can go through that if you want to. But so you know, you can actually create lesser and lesser models in terms of the number of polygons that at a distance, they're going to be switching automatically, right? And what is great about that is that you can actually make great use of those LODs to reduce the poly count of your full scene. So very hard calculations are going to be really, really easy, right? In terms of, you know, maybe calculating shadows, calculating global illumination, bounces, and all that, right? So it's actually, we're running 60. So what I'm going to do is actually force everything that is in my scene to be running on LOD 0. Now, granted, my guess is that this full scene was made for games, so it might already be really low on polygons. So, you know, we can actually load like a more complex, you know, scenario, right? To actually see if this makes more of an impact. But I'm sure that maybe these might actually force something. Not at all. So yeah, let's actually take a look at how dense are these things on LOD 0. Let me actually go lit and swap these to wireframe. And yeah, nothing here is like too crazy, right? So that might be one of those things, one of those scenes that is not going to be, you know, really preoccupied. Like Unreal Engine runs so fast lately that even if you force LOD 0, at least on this particular one, it's not going to like much. Let's actually go somewhere, right? Where it could be a little bit more, I know, I have it here. The abandoned corridor. This one is gonna be good. Let's go map and open this up. So we can go back to this Nova burger later. For now, let's actually come to this new scene and test it here. Well, mind you, now that I'm thinking of, this thing is from Megascan, so I'm sure that they are using everything Nanite already. So it might not be the best, now that I think of. I want to see if there is something else here that I can actually... I have tons of contents installed in this particular project. So we can actually check it out. So my point is, if I have a point, there we go. All right. Here we go. And let's type G. And my thinking is that everything here might be already be Nanite. And it is. So it defies a little bit the purpose. But, you know, let's be logic. If you have tons and tons of polygons, it's going to be slower, right, to render. That we can actually take for granted. So when you are using, you know, like different assets to actually construct something, then you're going to have like different LODs for each of those different assets that you drop into your scene as an actor. And then Unreal Engine is going to try to actually lower, right, the amount of polygons through the LOD. So that is how we have been working so far. And, you know, creating those LODs was really, really hard when you wanted to create them like from scratch. So it was not like a thing to actually create like a large number of assets because you had to actually worry about the LODs. Now, Unreal Engine actually gave you free LODs because you could, you know, bring in your stuff. Let's actually go there and actually perform it so you can actually see it. Let's go again to the, sorry about my coughing. Oh, the desert gas station is here. That one is really good. Let's go back to the to some asset inside the cyberpunk restaurant that we know that are not Nanite. And let's check the actual LODs. Let me grab something that might be a little bit complex. let's see this thing. Solar panel. This thing seems to have like a bit of detail, right? We have cables, we have joints. The shape is not that complex, but it does have a bit of detail, right? Now you can see up here that it says LOD 0, and if you start, going far and back, you can see that that LOD is actually changing. So it's actually loading a lesser version, right, in terms of the number of polygons. And if you actually check it out, it will actually let you know, the actual triangle count, which is really easy to calculate because each LOD is going to be like half the amount of polygons, right? So LOD 0 is 6,540 triangles. If you go away, the next one, it's, you know what? This one was not made by Unreal. I can actually tell it because it's not half of it. Now, the next one, LOD 1, is almost 500. Then LOD 2 is 3,000. And then that's it. It just have, it does have like a very, far away LOD 3, which is like 1,000 polygons, which I think is outrageous to have like 1,000 triangles, for something that is that far away. So let's actually make it better. Unreal Engine can actually make it tons better. So right here in the actual static mesh editor, you can, I'm going to close this collision creator. And let's actually go here and number of LODs. Here it is. Is it here? Yeah, here it is. So it says that it has 4 LODs, counting the original LOD, the original model, which is LOD 0. So it really has only 3, lower levels, right, of polygons. Unreal Engine can actually create, these from scratch. So if you actually brought in your model with only 1 LOD, you can actually do this and you can apply those changes and it will actually remove the LODs out of this thing. Now you can go as far as you want, and those 6,540 triangles are going to be loaded at all times until you can actually come here. And now that being said, I think if you do this, you are actually scrapping the actual LODs that were brought into the engine. Now, if you actually add them, they're going to be added by the engine, right? So, they are cool. They are really, really good. Hopefully, now this is going to be complete crap. Hopefully not. So let's actually create 5 of those, right? And let's actually go and apply changes. And let's wait. And that's it. Now you can see that already at this distance, we are at LOD 4. And the thing looks exactly the same. To actually check it out as LOD 0, you need to be like really on a close-up on this thing, right? As soon as you start getting just a bit out of the way, that thing is already in LOD 4, right? You can keep going and going until, I don't think, so if we actually created 5, LOD 4 is going to be the maximum, so that's it. Now, you can see now that this thing at this distance is only a merely 408 triangles. So Unreal Engine is amazing at creating LODs for your stuff. And these would, in turn say, well, now that Unreal Engine is up to creating LODs, I can start bringing more, assets, right? Because now I don't need to actually painfully stake in, creating those LODs on my own. Now I actually have Unreal Engine to create them for me. Even though you're going to have to go, one by one, maybe you can create like a Python script or something to, you know what? I think that in the actual ingestion process, you can actually set up like a basic number of LODs that will be created for it automatically. So I think you don't need even to batch them. It's going to be like the easiest thing in the world to now, bring more and more different type of assets to your production. Now, what is going to happen next is that then the LOD thing is solved, but now you must actually take into account another thing, and those are what is called the oh my god, how it is called? It's with Nanite, we don't care too much about it. The draw calls, that is how it's called. Sorry about that. My mind actually slipped with that word. The actual draw calls. So let me explain draw calls like really, really easy, right? So draw calls is, imagine your scene, it's a pool, a virtual pool, right? A real pool, sorry, not a virtual pool, a real pool full of water. And the water is your triangles, right? And now you get like a magic bucket, and you need to actually empty that scene on every cycle, right, of your game, right? Every time that the viewport refreshes, you need to, grab all those buckets and take them from your hard drive to your memory, right? And they need to be calculated by the CPU and all that. But the thing is to actually, how big that bucket is, right? So it's a little bit magical because it can change the shape and how much triangles it can get in as long as they're really, really the same. So let's say that at the time, let me actually go back here and open up this thing because it's really like the past versus the present, right? So let's go here and let's go to the demonstration again. And here we go. All right. Come on. You can do it. Oh, that's it. Beautiful. All right, so here it is. So you can see that when you thought of creating these tables with chairs and these dining tables, you created only one, right? And then you brought it in, and instead of using two different, it's the one and the same. Now you can see that these one have a little bit of details in the back, and this one has other type of details. So it's not like the same, but is actually the same. These things are what are called decals, and was like a way of actually disguising the actual fact that there are the exact same dining table. If you type G, you can see that these things, oh no, these are not even decals. These are actual polygons, right? With actual decals or real life decals, right? This is an actual decal, so you can actually move this thing, and it's going to be projecting on whatever you are, putting it really near, right? So that is how you would do it. But you wouldn't, in any case, brought in two assets of tables, not even, 3, 4, or 5. You're going to be bringing one, and then you're going to be putting, a duplicate of it. And inside Unreal Engine, that thing is called instancing. So the thing is that now that it's instancing, the actual draw call is actually considering all the triangles that are on this table, the same as these, the same as this, the same as that one, and all the different tables that you can set up on this scene. And when they need to, put it in a bucket and take it out of memory and into your video card, that thing is considered only, that same amount of triangles and that same amount of materials and that same amount of textures, and everything is the same. So it's going to be calculated once, right? And then through very clever mathematics, that thing is going to be reproduced as many times in a different, transformations, right? Of scale, rotation, and as long as you don't go negative scale, that thing is going to be considered the same, right? Which is nice, right? But then what would happen if you want to have like a dented, table, or maybe a table that is a little bit different, or maybe a table that, I don't know, have damage on it, right? Well, then you're going to have issues, right? Because if you have like very unique things on your scene, then you're going to be adding more assets, and then different or actors that are not instances of themselves. They're going to be starting being unique. Well, you're paying for those unique things. Because now when you bring a bucket, now you need to bring the bucket for this table different than the bucket for this other table, which is never good. That is, at least for what Unreal Engine used to be, was not that great, right? So that's why games are like this. You can actually make differences. Like you want a little bit of damage, you can actually stain it, you can put decals on it. You can, do clever materials that can actually change a little bit depending on where they are. So you can actually make them not look exactly the same. But on the basis of it, they are the same. There are instances of each other, right? And that's basics when you are creating something inside Unreal Engine. Now, the big deal with these is when Nanite now is on the game, because now Nanite frees you up a lot of the possibilities of creating different tables and different, everything really. Like now, let me tell you what would happen. So if I actually, it is not a ton of things. So maybe I'm lucky and I'm going to be able to actually pull this through in one swift go. There are tons of things here that might not convert really well because they have like tons of glass and stuff. So I want to convert everything here on these content to be Nanite. So enable Nanite for 195 assets, right? And now that everything is like that, I'm going to wait for all the meshes and cards are done. And after that, I'm going to save. If you try to save at the same time that thing is preparing the shaders, it's going to take like twice as long. I don't know why, but it's like too much at once. And Unreal Engine and your machine is going to start struggling. So let's drink a little bit of coffee and make a little bit of time. All right. Oh my God. Oh my God. Sorry about that. I hate to cough on a mic. That's the worst thing. There's a place in hell where people do that to you. All right. There it is. So let's save everything. And everything should save very fast because they are very simple, right? Nothing is too complex here. So you would say, Gabriel, but why would you actually convert everything to Nanite when everything is so, simple, right? And you would be, surprised how fast and how good Unreal Engine is at rendering Nanite stuff. In fact, there is like a fast lane nowadays that will render everything that is Nanite faster than things that are LOD. So let's actually take a look at this. Let's go lead and let's go Nanite visualization. Let's go triangles. So that's it. Again, I told you that everything that happens to have like a translucent material is not going to convert well to Nanite. That's a thing still. That might be like the last enemy to be defeated. But you can see that everything else actually, switches LODs, or there are not LODs. There are very smart LODs. Let me show you why they are really smart. So you can see it, maybe on the ground that like this is like the LOD 0 for the, for Nanite. And then as soon as you start, going far away, it starts dicing it, less and less. So it's like the perfect LOD all the time, no matter, where you are, which is what you want, right? You want something that frees you in terms of not having to even create those LODs. Let me show you now what is going to be the best thing that you're going to hear in the whole day, right? This baby is one big draw call. When you create the base pass, right? And that is because when you convert everything or everything that you convert to Nanite inside your scene is going to be considered a huge, big Nanite mesh. And that huge Nanite mesh is going to change LODs accordingly, with things that it has, really close to it, right? And that is how it should be. It is now a huge, big Nanite mesh, even though everything is separate assets and there are separate actors in the scene. But now that everything is converted to Nanite, everything is part of a ship, part of a crew. That is how Nanite works. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means that for Nanite, it doesn't care if this is an asset. At this point, this is just one huge draw call, right? And that is nice because now I can actually think, well, where are you, Trashback? Well, you're here, right? Well, if I would actually make a duplicate of you, right? Control D, and now you are another, Trashback, right? And another one. maybe, right? I'm gonna save this and this one. Well, if I drop this other one, right, the number 3, put it there, it is part of a crew, part of a ship. It doesn't care, even though it is a separate asset. And you would say, yeah, but that's lame. You know, you can actually create instance of it, right? What would you do that? Well, maybe I want to, let me go here, maybe on lead for a moment. Maybe, give me just a second while I clear my throat. All right, so maybe what I would want is, you know, maybe I'm gonna crack my modeling tools, right? And I'm gonna go my deformers, and I'm gonna grab my vertex sculpting, and I'm gonna grab this move. So, right, let me, where's the size? Here it is. That is good. And I want this one to be a little bit more skew, right? And a little bit different maybe, right? Just like that, right? And that's it. Now I can actually save this thing. And again, I could do the same thing with this other one, right? I could maybe, you know, warp it, displace it, do whatever I want with it, right? Because now I don't care. This thing, it's its own asset, but when this thing is going to be rendered out as a nanite, it's going to be one huge nanite. Now it doesn't care that this one is different than this one and different than this one. Once it is an actor inside your scene and everything has been converted into nanite, now you don't care. So these will freeze you up a lot of the artistic needs, right? Because you now are not going to be paying too much of a price when you have like a difference between two assets. Yeah, everything is going to come in the same, you know, draw call. Now, unless, and this is the big thing that will disprove my whole theory, and that is that you still have draw calls with nanites, but there are the actual materials draw calls. That's a thing that we still need to live with, right? Even though there are the same mesh, they do have separate materials assigned to them, right? But let's actually take a look. If you go to the nanite visualization, you're going to have things that are called, where is it? Instances? Yeah, you can see that these two are not instance anymore. If I do this, no, this is not that kind of instance. I want to see the material instances. I know that there is one to actually check that out. Shader beans. Oh, yeah, this is it. So these 1, 2, 3, 4 bags actually have the same shader. So they actually share a bin. So let's call a bin, in very lamer terms, a draw call, right? So this whole, you know, trash around here actually maybe uses the same material. Let me actually take a look. Is that right? Yeah, small props. If I grab this one, it has the same material. If I grab this one, it has the same material. So in terms of paying for the material, in terms of the draw call, it's going to be one draw call for everything that actually matches the same material instance, right? So now the big enemy to be defeated is the materials, or the amount of materials that you have on your scene. Nanite will actually take care of everything mesh-wise, and everything is going to be the least amount of draw calls, right? But in terms of the actual meshes, in terms of the actual materials, I'm very sorry, you're still paying the full price, right? Of actually, yeah, there are going to be considered difference. If I actually grab these back, right, and I actually change the material because of something, I need it to be another color, or maybe another something, right? Now, let's see if that is right. There is a thing that is called the, maybe now I'm getting like too deep into the weeds, but I want to take you there so we can actually see how far we can go with these, with everything that I'm telling you right now. So these two have the same material, right? The same material instance. But the thing is that, let me see. Let me go to onLead and let me open up this material instance and see what do I have to play with. Intensity of what? Metallic. Oh, yeah, it does have like a shine to it, right? Normal intensity and all that stuff. Oh, right, let's play with the normal intensity. This seemed fun. So let me save these. Why are you saving it? All right, let me go actually on lead because I need to actually see. We might need to actually bring in a bit of a light here. Oh, our texture streaming is having issues. Over how much? Oh my God, all right. Yeah, don't look up there. That's all right. That's Unreal Engine being silly. I'm gonna bring a little bit of light here. So let me grab like a point light. Oh my God, this thing is bright as hell. Let me put it around here. Oh, that is a very bright light. All right, let me actually address this. Just a bit of light is gonna be fine. Thank you very much. All right, so yeah, the actual texture streaming stuff is actually botching my demonstration. So let me actually add a little bit more pool and see if that actually helps. Streaming pool. Yeah, pool size. Put it 10,000. Yeah, and see if that actually helps. Yeah, that seems to be good. Now I'm back to actually seeing how this texture looks. So if you actually play with the normal intensity of this material instance, it's gonna be same for every instance of it, right? But maybe you want to have like a bit of a difference between this one or this one. Can I actually change the color? That would be amazing. Textures. Tint. Really? Can I make one blue? Oh yeah, you can actually make them blue. All right, let's have one of them blue, right? So let's save this. And what I'm gonna do is actually going to select this one and I'm gonna create a dynamic, dynamic material. So, you know, for you to have these, you need to go edit, plugins, believe it or not, virtual camera. Yeah, you need to have the virtual camera for some particular reason. I don't know why. Enable, the plugin enable for you to have these ability. Don't ask me why. Maybe they change it. There used to be a time when that was right. I want to think that is still that way. So if I create a dynamic material about this particular material here, you can actually assign like a difference between, now it's not a formal material instance. Now it's what is called a dynamic instance. So let's actually play with these. Let's make it bluish, reddish. All right, that's good. Yeah, a bit reddish. It's gonna look cool. All right, very good. Now we have an actual orangey reddish kind of back. Now, what would happen if I look at these through the same view mode? Let's go Nanite, let's go shading beans. What? That's a thing, right? Now I'm paying for the difference, right, of having an actual material, dynamic material instance. So we're paying the same price, even if it is a different material instance, right? Just to have like a different color on it, or if it is a dynamic material instance, right? That is, you know, held into the actual level. So you can see that, yeah, now this is what needs to be defeated. We need to have a way of actually, maybe have like a rough calculation of the whole thing in terms of the material. So everything can go in like one go, right? To memory and to the GPU. Yeah, there are actually fighting to have like bandless kind of resources. And this might be one of those that are really, really important. So yeah, that was the thing that I wanted to converse with all of you. So we're very free now to have things with various shapes because now you have Nanite to actually accommodate that. If you don't change the material, you're not paying a difference price for it. If you change the material to make it look a little bit different, now you're gonna pay for that, right? in terms everything that you can differentiate from one, from the same material instance from one mesh to another, you can do that kind of things with clever mathematics where like randomization of colors and all that stuff. So you can actually still make that work. Maybe you can drive it with its location in space, so you can have maybe like different particular shaders. You might not be so able to actually address it in terms of art directed. But still, there are ways to actually do that. We can talk about that on, another live. Maybe tomorrow. It's going to be a good day. So, yeah. So LODs are not, so fashionable nowadays. Now we have Nanite, which is much better, and very soon, hopefully, we're going to have like the Nanite for materials, and that is going to be so amazing to actually have, right? Maybe very soon, right? So we are almost an hour in, and I won. So let me just give me just a second. So let me just address what we're doing here. So I'm having like these daily live to actually talk about a particular course that I'm going to be imparting on starting on the 2nd of June. So, the 2nd of June is going to be the day Unreal Engine 5.6 is going to be released. And it's like a lousy time to actually have like a, like a course. And it's going to be in Vancouver, on Vancouver schedule. So my guess is that it's going to be there 10 a.m. So on my side, it's going to be like 4 p.m. or 3 p.m., which that will make it, the actual. Yeah, I know that in the middle of a class, Team Sweeney is going to be saying like, yeah, this is the new thing about Unreal Engine 5.6. And I'm going to be missing it. I don't know. Hopefully not. But my guess is that is going to be what is going to happen. But that being said, let's be positive and think that maybe it's going to be on a different hour, and I'm going to be able to actually address my first day of class on the course, and later I'm going to be able to sit down with popcorn, right, and actually watch the state of Unreal and see that the state of Unreal is still strong, right? So let me talk a little bit about the course. The course is going to be me teaching you how to create digital content for virtual production. Mostly directed to ICVFX, right? So that means that it's going to be you learning to create a content that is going to be, the end of it is going to be to replace a background on LAD stage. So that is what it is. And it is a content that we have been running for almost 2 years. And it was created by Pixamundo, and it was created by Pixamundo employees, and then it was run by, it was then passed into Joe Rush, and then Joe Rush actually pitched it to me, and I deconstructed, and I, actually try to poke holes into the whole thing, and actually checking out that everything was in a good pace, and that nothing, was, teach before you learn these other things. So everything was taught at a good time, right? And it has a good learning experience. And then we reconstructed it in a particular way that is really important, because it's going to be like running the life of a project cycle, right? And it's going to be through the conceptualization of your idea of what you want to do in your content. And then you're going to be doing the mood board of it. And then you're going to be doing something that is very important, that is called the shot plan, which will involve you actually designing not only what is going to be on the virtual side, right, of Unreal Engine, but what is going to be on the real side also of the Unreal Engine or of the actual shot. So you need to have like your stage, your fake stage that you're going to be creating, and you're going to be creating your, the size of your wall, the shape of it, and everything, and you're going to be using it to actually check out that everything. It's going to be like a visual representation that is going to help you really good into knowing that everything that you are trying to create is going to happen, right? So you're going to be constructing a little bit also of the real side and the virtual side. And with that shot plan, you're going to show everybody, what is going to be real, what is going to be in the actual wall, and you're not going to be, putting too much effort into what is real. It's just there, as a placeholder, right? But you're going to be putting tons and tons of effort into what is going to be projected into the wall, right? And then after you create the mood board and the shot plan, you're going to be creating a blocking, and then you're going to be detailing that blocking. You're going to learn how to light, and you're going to learn how to create shots. So how to put a camera, actually creating a camera that is plausible in an actual LED stage. And you're going to learn how to create a good shot. That shot is what is going to be called your hotspot. And once you get that hotspot, you're going to be creating all the detail, right, of that particular hotspot. So that hotspot is going to be that shot, plus, all the range that camera can actually produce inside your real stage with that size of an actual LED, right? So as you can see, it's very different from creating anything else, right? This is very unique. This is a very exact science, right, into creating something that, needs to look really, really close to reality, because in fact, you're going to be having people in front of that particular background, right? Or background replacement. And it needs to look like that person is in there, that everything is, reality. And in the middle, you're going to be learning all about virtual production and Unreal Engine. If you're starting with Unreal Engine, it's going to be great because we're going to take it easy at first. And then you're going to be learning things like photogrammetry. You're going to be learning things like concepting. You're going to be learning things like digital matte painting. So it's a very, very interesting course. After you create that interior, because that is going to be your first, objective, you're going to be running these to create an interior scene that should have, very much like this one, and access to an exterior, right? So there's going to be a time where you're going to have like everything like it is here, right? Just the interior, plus, maybe a bit of that exterior here, right? And then you're going to be presenting these to Pixomondo. There is going to be someone from the VAD team, usually is a supervisor, who is going to be there for a session where you're going to be pitching everything about your project, and they're going to be giving you the best feedback that they can, right? And that way you're going to be knowing that everything that you're creating is actually worthy of being on an ICVFX wall. So once that is done, you're going to be reserving that to a side, and we're going to be starting all over again. So you're going to be concepting, and you're going to be creating your shot plan and everything for your exterior, all right? And now on that exterior, we're going to be doing like landscaping and foliage and procedural foliage and grass and landscape material and PCGs and all that. Once we get to that point, we're going to need to actually optimize. So we're going to have like 4 different classes of optimization, ranging from, managing your meshes, managing your textures, managing your materials, managing memory and resources, and using Unreal Engine very vast tool set of optimization and measurements and bracketing So we're going to be creating not only something that looks really, really realistic, but at the same time, something that runs pretty well, because you need to actually make sure that you're running not more than maybe like 20 millisecond, or at least 40 FPS, so you have a little bit of leeway, above the 24 that is the bare minimum, right? So yeah, and once you have that ready, we're going to be meshing up your interior and your exterior in one big scene. And by that time, you're going to be creating all the documentation and everything and submitting that for a second daily, and where you're going to have a full critique of your final work. And that is going to be it. That is going to be what you're going to be presenting as your, complete submission, final submission for your course. And yeah, you're going to have also a certificate from the Vancouver Film School. And also, hopefully, I think that is completely sorted out. The Virtual Production Academy from Pixomondo is now considered an authorized training center. So that means that we can now offer certificates also. I think that there are in revision right now. They were sent to Epic, and now very soon we're going to have them, returned with approval. So we're going to start handing them to everybody who have run the course since we have been granted the authorization, right, as a training center. And yeah, that is what we're going to be running from the 2nd of June. It's going to be a 3-month, 12 weeks full experience, daily classes, office hours, assignments. We're going to have full milestone review days. You're going to be presenting your work in front of your peers. So it's going to be like a very fun adventure with tons of students. It's going to be like going back to school. So if you want to relieve, and start getting creative again, it's the best way. I'm going to be doing all the mentoring with your work. So no matter how much time you have, we're going to be measuring out how much time you can actually put into your scene, so you can create something that looks like really good, no matter the actual scope of it. And I'm going to be there to actually take you to the end, right? So you can actually go forth and create something amazing that you're going to have on top of both, certificate. You're going to be ending up with a very cool looking scene that is going to be yours to actually produce something in it, add it to your portfolio, or, maybe like do some cool videos and hang them on your social networks, right? So it's a win-win-win-win-win situation. I'm going to be posting the link to the registration page for your perusal and your consideration. And that's it. That is going to be today's live. I want to thank you all that are going to be maybe checking out this recording. I never actually do much advertisement for my streaming, at least not for the ones on Monday. For tomorrow, it's going to be a different thing because, Franco's going to be with me, and we want to, do something really, really cool. And yeah, that's it. I want to tell you that I love you all. I want you to take care of each other and love each other. And I will see you tomorrow on the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.